Hey guys, most of you are wondering today what the heck happened today with today's stock market as well as Bitcoin and MicroStrategy and the miners. Today was a big bloodbath, and most of you are wondering, is now like the end of the Bitcoin bull cycle? Are we at the top of the stock market? Are we going to see a market correction? What the heck is going on? And what does this mean for price action when it comes to strategy, MSTR stock, and the big three miners? I'll cover my updates, what my overall assessment is with today, as well as the upcoming near-term perspective with my price predictions with Bitcoin, the stock market, MicroStrategy, and the miners. Now, what the heck happened today? I think what really happened was the fact that there was indication that there's a weaker economy, and we heard a lot about tariffs coming, especially with Trump, noting that reciprocal tariffs will come into play. I think a lot of that, along with weak economic data, that drew a lot of uncertainty. We did see some market reactions with AI regarding DeepSeek coming out, and now we're beginning to see more, push and pull mechanisms with, when with terrorists. And I think this is really what's causing the price of Bitcoin to react. And anytime when the stock market, takes a downward dip throughout the day, Bitcoin is going to follow that. There's so much hedging going on now, in that now, a lot of financial institutions are invested in Bitcoin. Bitcoin will generally have a correlation with the stock market. Of course, it's not a high correlation, but it does have a direct effect to the price of Bitcoin, especially given the fact that Bitcoin is open 24/7. But today was more of, just uncertainty with tariffs really coming into play, along with market uncertainty where potential corrections may be coming. So I think all of that comes into play. But most of you are wondering, now is a time, should I be buying? Should I be selling? We'll go through those de details. But first off, let's take a look at technicals here. So what we're seeing here is the overall price of Bitcoin just with the last 5 days of trading. We saw here, especially with, Bitcoin from like the 19th of February up through the 21st, we saw some healthy upward movement. It was up until the stock market opening. We're beginning to see, MSTR, Bitcoin miners climbing up, and then all of a sudden, big news drop with, tariffs coming back into play, potential economic uncertainty. And guess what happened? Where Bitcoin just dropped from like, it almost got to that 100,000 barrier. It seemed like a lot of people were thinking that it was going to break through that. And what happened at 99,000, 400? Boom, huge sell off, 94,000. Although now we're beginning to see some upward movement here, but most of us are wondering, are we going to see some more pullbacks throughout the weekend? But what happened today on Friday was we saw major sell-offs with companies like Strategy and all that. We'll go through the details there. But just based on what we saw here, this really drew a lot of market uncertainty here. I think definitely a great opportunity to continue dollar cost averaging, whether you are a believer of Bitcoin, if you're a believer of strategy, or even the miners. We'll go through those updates here. But let's just take a look at this posting here from Mark on X. MSTR is officially cheap as hell as measured by NAV multiple enterprise value, MNAV here. So the current 1.83x is below the historical average of 1.87x. Let's take a look at this visual here. So in red is basically strategy enterprise value, and orange is the value of Bitcoin. Now the MNAV would be the black line here. So it's basically enterprise value over the value of Bitcoin, currently at 1.83. As you can see, before, you see MNAV even higher, back in September at 2.42. It was until the price reached that top point November timeframe, and then, ended the year at 1.88x with a 400% gain. So hopefully we'll see this MNAV number climb up, but definitely cheap as heck right now with price of MSTR at like $299 at the closing here. Let's take a look at this posting here on Mining Mafia. So, if you're feeling bad about being in the red today, just know BlackRock and other top institutions are also in the red. Next week is a new week here. So, let's just take a look here. CleanSpark, BlackRock with the average price of $10. Look at their share count here. Vanguard, $11. Morgan Stanley at $11. So, you see here, a lot of these financial institutions, they're invested big time here. You see their amount of shares like Morgan Stanley, 12 million, Vanguard, close to 20 million, BlackRock, over 20 million shares. So we're in this for the long haul here. I think CleanSpark will get a bounce back here. And while we're hurting, look at these financial institutions. They're hurting more, especially with these big time numbers. But they continue to buy up, shares of CleanSpark, Mara, and Riot, along with other stocks here, so I wouldn't worry so much. Let's take a look at Mara here. Average cost $18 for BlackRock, Vanguard $18. You have here $19. Morgan Stanley $19. Look at the share count of BlackRock. 50 million shares, Vanguard 38 million shares. So these big numbers here, and especially seeing the price today take a big time dip, like at around 8%. That's big numbers here, but I wouldn't be too worried here because when these whales invest this big, we know where the money is going to be in the future. Vanguard Group, bought in at $14 with Riot, BlackRock, $14, 35 million share count, BlackRock, 24 million share count. So they're ramping up their numbers here. Starboard got in at around, 1084 with 12 million shares. So their cost average is, pretty good here. But I think that, just based on this details here, you got the big time whale just continuing to buy up more shares of the miners as well as even MSTR. We hear a lot of financial institutions buying, foreign countries buying, even at the state level, like California buying MSTR. Let's take a look at price action with MSTR here. So just looking at this posting, MSTR dropped big time today, 7.48%. Now at like 299 here, we are in this, pennant bull flag here where that top off of 550 back in November. One thing to keep in mind here is that the relative strength index is extremely low, whether it's going to like retest that support 280 before it ran back up to 400. But I do think that where we are, a lot of people are worried, like, how come this is happening with strategy? One thing to keep in mind is that, there was profit taking, after the 550, and, we do expect this pullback here, but now it's like negatively correlated with Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin didn't drop from all times high in November all the way to like February, but we see this with MSTR. Just to also factor in that there's more volatility that we see with MSTR because of the amount of profit gains. You can see it runs up much faster, but when it runs up much faster, you do have more volatility with the price depreciation as well. But I do think that, now is a great time to dollar cost average, especially getting it at the 300, sub 300. Definitely, I don't think it's going to stay in this territory much longer as Bitcoin price. I'm expecting that it will reverse. It'll go up. Today was just a big time anomaly. Let's take a look at this posting. Mara here. We see this similar bullish pennant flag here. Yeah, it's a big time anomaly seeing, Mara, just hitting that $14 range. That's big because, we saw Mara like back in November, over $30 in just a matter of weeks. It's dropped so much, but I do think that, definitely a great buying opportunity. I personally don't think it's going to go any lower than this. RSI is just extremely oversold, but that's the big time indicator that you want, oversold. That's when you take advantage when there's blood on Wall Street. Let's take a look here at this posting with CleanSpark here. So definitely we see a cup and handle forming, just from a zoomed out view from 2022, 2024. We did see that run up from like February, March timeframe, but now it's kind of like, wait, what's going on here? Is it going to go back down to like $3 here? Or are we seeing a cup and handle form where it's going to start popping back up. I don't have the magic 8 ball, but I do think that there is upside with CleanSpark. There's more to come here, so I'm not too worried with the price action. Also, let's take a look here with Riot Platforms, this drawing here. So just with the support level back in September before Trump got announced to president, it went from like, $6 all the way up to like $15, that retest prior highs here. But then what we saw at one point back in like 2023 was like testing that $20. In 2024, it hovered above $18 through multiple occurrences. And now, we're wondering, what's going on? Is it going to continue going down? But I do think that as we, have earnings with Mara and Riot, we're going to see some positive numbers here. And who knows, we could very well see a bounce back. But I do think that all of this is really going to be attributed to the price of Bitcoin. My take is that as Bitcoin price, breaks to 130K, 150K come April timeframe, we can see these miners take action here with volume increases as well as strategy. And as Bitcoin, my forecast is hits 200K, we could very well see, MSTR and these miners, have a 3 to 5x potential. So that's my takeaway. So there you have it. I hope that you found this video valuable. If you did, please let me know what your thoughts are. Are we at the end of this bull cycle, or are we, just barely heating up here? What are your thoughts from today's happenings? Leave your comments down below. I read through everything and I appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. Thanks, guys.